Hello and welcome to today's video. So this time we're going to be taking a look at the fantastic new book, the Fanzine Book, published by Telos, and also an incredible collection of vintage Doctor Who fanzines. So sit back, relax, and let's take a look. Okay then, so I did a couple of weeks ago publish a video on the Fanzine Book, but it was a bit of a cheat really because I went through literally the entire book, and that's not quite really fair on the publishers or the author. It's a fantastic book, it really is, and we will go through it as we go through the collection today. But you know, just flicking through this really doesn't do it justice. I do want you to, or I do encourage you to go out and buy your own copy because, well, you can see just how absolutely fantastic it is. But nothing quite beats seeing the actual fanzines themselves up close and personal. So we'll have a little bit look back through the book in a moment. But what I thought we'd do, we'd intersperse this video with a look through, a fantastic collection of original fanzines, and these are all from sort of back in the day. So we'll start off with a few of the more unusual ones. Some of them, they weren't that long running, they're not like the main ones that you might remember, but they are good all the same. And a lot of these you could sort of say the golden age for Doctor Who fanzines was perhaps the mid-1980s, I suppose. And what we're seeing here pretty much dates from that sort of period. Certainly when I was getting into Doctor Who in a big way, sort of about 83, 84, I was picking up as many of these as I could pretty much get my hands on. So I'm sure there'll be a few here, these odd issues that jog your memory. And a lot of them were offered through the Celestial Toyroom, which was the official publication of the Doctor Who Appreciation Society. And we have got some period ones of those to have a look at in a little while. I thought we'd tie those in to the TARDIS fanzine, which we've got a big pile of, because that was the official DWAS fanzine. So anyway, a few interesting titles here. Shock Eye's Kitchen. And, you know, this is, this is actually a slightly later one here, but still super cool. What on earth is that? Shock dried seaweed. There you go. Look at that. Even got an insert in it. So that, as fanzines go, quite professional, that one. Then all that way. I mean, back in the day, a lot of them. I mean, I don't even remember this one at all. But they were just sort of knocked out on the school photocopier sometimes, you know, by amateur Doctor Who fans, who some would later on go on to become professional writers and be involved in the show. And looking through these now, I don't remember too much of the late 80s, 90 ones, but the sort of 82 to 86 is probably when I was buying the most, I suppose, personally. But fantastic to see them. It really is. Once again, this one, I remember having it back in the day. Views, news and reviews. I mean, when on earth was this? I don't know much about it, but I definitely had it. I would have read it at the time and absorbed it, but we've got stacks to get through, so I'm not going to hang around. The Visitor. Zygon, see, I vaguely remember this one. Skonos. Look, what we'll do, we'll just pause there because as I said, we've got loads to get through, and I'll go through a little bit more of the fanzine book. So it's basically broken down chronologically into the history of Doctor Who fanzines, and you see later on some of these went to large format, and once again we will have a little look at these. And I suppose, yeah, they like what they sort of morphed into really, and they did get quite professional come sort of the end of the golden era, sort of the 90s, late 80s into the mid 90s, I suppose. You could say that was the classic era. And this book's just been published. It's by Telos. Telos are, well, they've got several Doctor Who books, all fantastic under their belt, and this is no exception. I mean, this is really outstanding. So as you can see, you get a real feel for it, and even if you don't have the magazines, you know, you'll be getting a real feel for that era when you go through this book. Certainly I was very impressed with it, and brought back a lot of memories, lots of stuff. It was impossible, I think, to buy it all. I mean, it really would have been. So there's lots here that you know, flew under my radar, even though I was buying everything I could get my hands on. Just superb. So we'll leave it open at that page, and we'll go through a few more here. So some of these stock footage, don't really remember that one. Skonos, another one I'm a bit unsure about. Now that's actually a convention booklet, Leisure Hive, so that's ended up, this collection isn't actually my own. a lot of them were my original ones, and I sort of moved my collection onto my friend George, who's a big Doctor Who collector, and he had my run. I actually went to this convention, this Leisure Hive one. I remember it very well. I remember meeting a lot of these guests at the time. Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah, great stuff. I think it was in Swindon, the Leisure Hive convention. Fan Aid was another one. This was around the time of the Ethiopian appeal, and Fandom did its own bit by producing a couple of, I think it was Paul Cornell who was behind, the brainchild behind this, and he did a couple of the magazines and also the Fan Aid convention in Bath, which I remember being good fun as well. Christopher Robbie, to remember getting that one. Paradise Lost, I vaguely remember getting this. Quite interesting, the old rusty staples. Something that would have happened over a period of time, I suppose. Oracle. They really were, works of love, really, by the creators. It was just a shared love of Doctor Who. There's very many, you couldn't say there was many series that were like this. I mean, you really couldn't. Not this devoted level of fandom. Perhaps only Star Trek would be about the only thing you could compare it to. Another Fan Aid one there, another special. And that was the Fan Aid convention, which, as I said, I went to that one. I was one of the stewards. In fact, there I am, Julian Burr, just helping out. But I remember it was just a great little convention. It wasn't in a massive hotel. But a few hundred people turned up. It was brilliant, and the guests were just incredible. And there's the first Fan Aid one that Paul produced. Cygnus Alpha. Now, this was one that was produced quite local to me. This is in Exeter, and it was Paul West was the chap behind it. Now, Paul ran the Exeter Doctor Who local group, I seem to recall. And Exospace, that was a local Exeter convention. Destiny 1 was a local collectible shop run by a chap called Pete Rice. So yeah, I remember enjoying Cygnus Alpha. Paul was a little bit older than me at the time, and his two loves were Doctor Who and football. I seem to remember. But yeah, Cygnus Alpha, a great little magazine, that one. Now, I suppose this is the first of what you could call the big four. So you had Shada, you had Skaro, you had TARDIS, and some of the other ones like DWB, The Frame. They were like the main ones that you could buy, and these were a bit more professionally produced, generally speaking. They had perhaps a better stable of writers, people who went on to become writers in their own right, write novels and work on the series, in fact, when it got revived. So these really were some of the best fanzines that you could get. And I'm not sure if it's actually in the book, but I do wonder what the actual print runs on some of these must have been. I know my own very valiant effort when I was a 13, 14-year-old. Even we sold 50, and that was a cassette zine, a tape zine, which I do get a little bit of coverage in here. But I've got a full run of these to go through, and I thought we'd do those in a separate video. I wouldn't say they were fanzines, but they were produced by fans, but it became something much, much more. And I think those are absolutely brilliant. And we've got, as I said, the full run from Unearthly Child up to the Doctor Who the movie. And we'll do those in another video quite soon. But just show you some more issues of TARDIS. And of course, we'd had Doctor Who Weekly as well. But the sort of stuff that the fanzines covered wasn't really in Doctor Who Weekly territory, was it? It was that was more for the, I would say, the younger fan. This is for the slightly more adult fans. So yeah, so there's the Shadows. Let's get a few more here. So I can remember buying these at the time, absolutely loving them. And we will, in a moment, have a look through some Celestial Toy Rooms from the DWAS, and we can see where a lot of these, this is where they were advertised, was in CT. And these are later issues of Shadow. This was Gary Russell's mag, I seem to remember. That was from that photo shoot for Resurrection of the Daleks. London Docklands. And here's that Skaro. Now, Skaro was probably my favourite one of all, and this is published by Simon Lydiard. just a great magazine. And I didn't realise, the only ones I ever got were always in A5 format. I didn't realise it got so many issues published in the larger magazine format, but we've got those to have a look at as well in a minute. So super cool. But I think that's possibly the first one I got my hands on. I joined the DWAS around that sort of time. I remember thinking these are just amazing. And what you generally do is you'd send off a postal order, if you can believe it. You go to the post office, get a postal order, or possibly get your parents to write a check out and send it to the editors. And you know, a week or two later, you get the magazine back. I remember being so impressed with this one at the time. Just like incredible. Really, really amazing. Yeah, Simon was based in Bath. I remember that now. Volume 4 here. Just really terrific magazine. And I hope this brings back a bit of nostalgia for yourself. Now, this is TARDIS, so that's probably a good point there before we get into the TARDIS ones, because they were published by the Doctor Who Appreciation Society. So it's probably an idea if we just finish off. Here we are. Here's the TARDIS pages, and this goes into the history of TARDIS. And also Celestial Toyroom. So I didn't join the DWAS until about April '83, just before the Longley celebration. I seem to remember it. That was on about the time I joined. And I don't remember, I never ever saw these early 70s issues, late 70s issues of CT, but certainly from the 80s up, I had them. And I think it might be quite fun, since we got them here, to have a look at those issues of CT right now. Okay then, so here's some of the earliest Celestial Toymakers that I've got to show you today. This is June 1983. As you can see, there wasn't exactly a lot to it, just literally a few pages. And there would be the advert for some of these. This is Zero Room. That was an audio zine. I remember being absolutely fascinated by audio zines. Wolf's Eye View, Laser On, advert for Scaro, Space Rat. So this is where you got your fanzines from. It was as simple as that. Sconos. So I thought we'd have a look through the ones from 1983. And they may, for a few people, jog a few memories. Certainly for me, this was my heyday, really. And yeah, finding missing episodes and things like that, just astonishing, really. For the anniversary, a 20-year anniversary, of course, and the new season, number 12. I did find quite an interesting letter at the back of this one. As I said, a lot of these were mine originally, and this was about forming the Plymouth Doctor Who local group. So it's dated 1st of January 1984. Look at this. Dear Julian, thank you for your letter regarding local groups. Please find enclosed an LG local group application form. Running a group is quite simple. Most groups tend to watch videos, talk and go to the pub. Some produce fanzines, but basically it's up to the group to decide. As leader, you just have to arrange venues and keep everyone informed as to what's happening. That kind of thing. That was from Robert Mobort. So that's exactly what we did. We would go around someone's house. Generally, after a bit of time, we had a few contacts. We were able to watch some old Doctor Who episodes on video. And we would then go down the pub. So that literally... that literally was how we did it, which was pretty cool. That is January '84, and I said this was the way. This was the way people just ordered their magazines. Early ad for DWB there, and just general merchandise. Early Doctor Who on VHS, and the calendar. That's incredible, really. And yeah, this sort of thing would be all online nowadays, of course, but this was definitely a golden age for Doctor Who fandom. It really, really was. Just superb. They do get steadily better and better and more content as you go along. Regular Doctor Who conventions, I mean, just superb. I think these all deserve you know, a bit closer look, you know. Just gives you that vibe of what it was like back then. There we are, that was the last one for 1984. Now my friend George has got these bound up into full volumes, so we'll just go through them a volume at a time. So this was the ones for 1985, and then 86, 1987, 88, and unfortunately I'd left the society by then. I'd gone on to other things. I'd left home, and you know, my interests had sort of changed a little bit, really. So I never got any of these at the time. That's 89, and as you can see, the magazine got a lot slicker. It really did. 92. A tail end, just a few there from 1993, the first few issues. Then there's like a DWAS yearbook, a few other DWAS bits. Now, one of the other things that I do remember was the Merseyside local group, and they were really big, and they produced their own magazine here and their own fanzine. So the book covers all the early years, going up into the period that I'm quite familiar with. And these early years, you do sort of see the genesis of the Doctor Who fanzines, and it's a great period. This one here, An Adventure in Time and Space, as I said, I've got the whole run of these to hand now, so I am going to do a separate dedicated video on this fantastic magazine. But since we've just done the Celestial Toyrooms, I thought it might be fun to do the issues of TARDIS that we've got here. So earliest one is volume 4, number 2. So I haven't got any of these really early ones, but this is the one that was sold through the DWAS itself, and always guaranteed a really good read. I think they were uniform in their design, certainly these early issues were, and I bought every single issue that came out whilst I was a member of the DWAS, and very much enjoyed it. Really great and slick magazine. I just think the A5 format lent itself so well, didn't it, to fanzines. It really did. I prefer this size to actual larger format magazines, in all honesty. Some great stuff here, but they've got a bit slicker now. I remember these so well. I think this really was a high quality publication. I mean, it really was, and for its day, just outstanding, absolutely outstanding. It was a very good time in TARDIS history, shall we say. And these are much later ones. These are volume 10. I didn't really have these at all at the time. I don't really remember seeing them, in all honesty, but there's the last few issues of volume 10 of TARDIS. Got that one there. This is volume 10, number 4. There we are. That was December 1985. So I guess by then, for whatever reason, I didn't actually get TARDIS. But anyway, that's all the small format ones that we had to look at. And now on to the larger format fanzines. Okay, so this part of the book focuses on the sort of the tail end of the 1980s, when the magazines went, well, pretty much full size, and they reached to professionalism. It was really quite something at the time, and I was thinking they've lost their charm in a funny sort of way. But here's later issues now of TARDIS, the DWAS one, and yeah, it was just a fantastic magazine. They really did go quite well upmarket. I very much remember this one. This was like a special, yeah, TARDIS special. 20 years. Brilliant stuff, and lots and lots of familiar names within the world of Doctor Who, even to this day, were involved in these magazines back then. Here's the larger format for Skaro, so volume 5, number 1, and going through the issues here, just fantastic. I remember having a few of these, and we had some in our shop back in the 90s, back issues and that. And it's a very slick magazine, as you can see. Not quite sure how long Skaro went on, but certainly it was an incredibly gorgeous looking magazine. And then we got Private Hugh. This is covered in the book as well, and it was a take obviously on the British Private Eye. This is August 1985. remember getting this one, for example. And once again, it was the age of the slick magazine. Now, we haven't got any Doctor Who bulletin, any DWBs, at least none that I've seen in the collection, but that was certainly part of this era, you could say, you know. But yeah, Private Who, it's good stuff. Let's pull that pile away. We've got some more here. So this was another fantastic one here. I'm trying to remember where that came from, if it was one that was published through DWB or through the DWAS, but I remember it being very, very good. There's Proteos. Another odd one here, Enlightenment. Don't remember this one at all. It might even be American. Official Newsing of the Doctor Who Information Network. I suspect that might be actually an American one. Here's some copies of the frame from the late 80s. I said all covered in the new Fanzine book. Very, very nice jacket, that. Typical Doctor Who fans room, that. February 89. This is the last hurrah of the show, really. Of the classic era, anyway. But still a very, very slick magazine. A nice alternative to the Doctor Who magazine of the time, I guess. It's quite nice on the back of this one. This is a double issue. It's got actually all the previous issues right back to #1. And that was possibly the last one we've got here today anyway, which was a double issue from number 2324 from 1993. So just to round out the video then, I hope this has whetted your appetite for the Fanzine book. As I said, this has only recently been published. I think it was tail end of August 2023. Alistair McGown has done an absolutely fantastic, you can see what a fantastic hefty tome this one is, and once again Telos have really outdone themselves with the quality of this book. It is just superb. Let me give you just one final flick through of its loveliness, and if you haven't already got a copy of this one, I know a lot of my friends I showed this to ordered one for Christmas for themselves, then down in the description down below there'll be a link to buy this one online, a link directly to the Telos website. So you can support the publisher directly that way if you'd like to do that. As you can see, there's loads in here. It's just, you know, the greatest love letter to fanzines that there will ever be. And I couldn't really finish this review without showing you my own amateur effort from late 1984, early 1985. I produced this one with my friend Duncan Skinner. We were both schoolboys together. Still in contact with Duncan. He lives in Greece now. A good friend. And the fanzine itself wasn't a lot to it because it was a tape zine. So I mentioned earlier on that I absolutely love the tape zines. And we got to interview Tom Baker in the local theatre. He was down doing a play called She Stoops to Conquer. So we'd already done a comic book together called Future Shock, which had a lot of science fiction content. And we decided to do like a dedicated Doctor Who fanzine. And that was it, the Doctor Who tape zine. So this had a Tom Baker interview. You can get this one online. It was, I did actually reprint it or re-release it, as it were, as a video with Duncan and I talking about it a few years back. So you can find that one on the channel, and I'll try and remember to link to it at the end of this video. And we did actually 2 issues. We actually interviewed another chap who we did a follow-up. And it was a chap who'd been in the Green Death. He was a member of UNIT, so he was only like an extra or something, but fascinating all the same. So yeah, wanted to include my own little one. Certainly not one of the big ones. We only had 2 issues, but we loved it, and it was sort of a piece of my history there. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that little overview of the brand new The Fanzine book, as well as that incredible collection of 80s and early 90s Doctor Who fanzines. Certainly it was the golden age for that sort of thing, wasn't it? Now don't forget, I've got a video coming up soon looking at Doctor Who Envision and An Adventure in Time and Space, another fantastic magazine, and we've got the complete set of those to go through, so look out for that one in about a month. And if you do fancy picking up a copy of the fanzine book, do check the description down below. Thank you very much for watching today. If you've enjoyed it, do please give the video a thumbs up. If you've not already, do please hit that subscribe button for regular vintage Doctor Who content, and I'll look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye.